Welcome back to Gun Totin' Minnesotan. This is a Discovery Optics ED AR 1:8 by 24 side focus illuminated reticle with 34 millimeter tube. And I'm going to be mounting this in this cantilever 20 MOA mount from Discovery Optics. I'll talk more about that later in the review, but this is an excellent mount. First, let's pop open the box and show you what it comes with. On the box, by the way, it does give you a little bit of an infographic. It is a first focal plane. Tells you a little bit about some of the qualifications of the optic, but I think it's better just to open it up and show you what's actually inside the box. Starting off, you have your quality control checkpoint and inspections. This is just so you know who and what they're actually doing. This tells you about their process, what they're looking at to make sure it operates properly. This is really good. It's not going to catch every single thing that exists, but it's going to catch all the major stuff. And this is a great value to the customer. You're going to get your lens cloth, which is a large size cloth. You have your instruction manual. This is especially important if you've never set up a precision scope, a scope with exposed turrets, you've never set a zero before, you don't know how to use that reticle. The instructions are going to be helpful to help you understand how to use your optic and how to get it zeroed. Then you have this Discovery Optics stats card. I like the stats card because it tells you some things you might not normally know, or if you just want to hold on to it so you can always remember how much room you have. For example, this has 38 mils of internal elevation and 22 mils of windage. I think it's pretty impressive, and I'm excited to try out those mils of elevation. Now, I've already taken it out of the package. I want to show you that it does come with a scope sunshade. So it's an extended bit there if you want to do that. Now let's just get to the main part. And actually, I probably forgot one more thing. It does come with a small tool, which is actually for resetting your turrets. This right here, if you have them locked down, and press it down, this helps you not mar up the surfaces of your scope by using a coin or a flathead or something. This plastic piece is much more appropriate and preferable for that application, and it does have a hole in it so you can throw some shock cord on it and keep it around. Now let's talk about the optic. Being that this is a first look, I wanted to tell you a couple things that are going to be standout about this. First of all, this is a 34 millimeter tube, which allowed for all that extra internal elevation. It does have exposed turrets. It comes with a cattail or a mag assist for your change view, and it's pretty smooth on its own, but it comes with one of these, which is nice to have on an LPVO type optic. This one is no exception. It's nice to have that on there. This is really interesting because you can see there's two different dials here, and I'm sure you know what they are. This one is your illumination, and then you have actually a parallax dial. And this is where it gets exciting, especially for you air gunners out there or people who like to do precision shooting. This can actually go down to 5 yards. Yep, 5 yards. That's incredibly close. That's across the room distances. And you have 10 yards, 15, 25, 50, 100, and it's just going to go up from there up to infinity, and it's incredibly smooth. Not overly tight, a good amount of resistance, appropriate resistance on just about everything here. I'm really happy to see that. The scope is going to come with some clip-on lens covers here, and those are fine. I usually just put those in my pocket or keep them in my bag when I go out and shoot. The optic itself is robust. It's got a good heft to it, some good weight. It has those exposed turrets, which a lot of people are going to be excited about when you realize that it has a side parallax, exposed turrets, and it's kind of configured really well for shooting, whether you want to shoot really close or you want to take something out a bit further than you usually do. It's got some features here that allow you to do that. So recently, I did an overview and a review of a 2-12, which was a 30 millimeter and slightly different than this configuration. That 2-12 was an HD version. This is an ED version. And I'm going to tell you that the glass quality inside is superior, and that the 34 millimeter tube does allow this to have a number of benefits. The most important to me actually being that it has more internal travel than the previous model that I reviewed. If I can move it to the side for a second, I want to talk about these turrets. These turrets are lift to operate turrets. and they're actually pretty tactile. They're a little bit more thuddy than they are clicky, but they do not have bad backlash. There's minimal movement in the head itself here. It's kind of a crown to the turret, and the crown has a uniform texture you're going to get on everything else. It's kind of that meat grinder feel, but it's not overly aggressive. It's appropriate. And these are just really clean, thuddy, clicky turrets. And I'm not sure yet about tracking. I'm going to do a tracking test and double check, but I'm really happy with it. They sound like they have a gasket or a seal in there when I lift or close, and it's not sloppy. Actually feels pretty good. We'll check return to zero and tracking later, but I'm glad to see that this exposed turret does function really well, and it's lift to operate and down to lock. The eyepiece moves very freely. It's non-locking, and that's just fine for me, especially at the price point. I'm pretty surprised at the price point. I think they're doing really well. They're being competitive for the glass that they're putting inside, and as long as they do a good job of configuring that good glass and setting up the elements well, doing some of their math well, I think it's going to be just fine. This was able to make the reticle sharp for my eye. I believe it's going to have enough range of travel to clear it up for just about anybody's eye. Even if you wear bifocals or glasses, I still think there's enough range of travel here to do what you need to. And it seems firm enough that it's not going to move easily on its own. Even if you kind of mar off that eyepiece, that cap, I don't think it's going to move on its own. It seems to be resistant enough that it'll stay put. Now, something that probably doesn't matter to anybody else, but I just wanted to point it out, something I noticed, is the spring cover here. This keeps that spring inside. This is different than any one that I've seen before. This is a different, it's not a different mechanism per se, but it is a little different the way that they've configured it. And I noticed that it is not coated the way that the others are. This is stainless steel. Just a change that I thought was worth noticing. And then on the bottom, you're going to have some of your information, when it was made, assembly line numbers here, and then you have your QC check sticker on the bottom. The bulb for your rector tube here and all the housing here, the bulb isn't overly large. I think you're going to have no problem fitting in low rings if you really needed to. It looks to me pretty standard, even with this. Typically on a Picatinny rail, this sits off to the side. I haven't had too many issues with this size of the spring cover here. Bit of a flare out towards the front, and so perhaps there's an advantage there. You can at least throw in your sunshade if you want to and thread into that. Perhaps it allows more light in. You could make that argument that there's a little something there that it captures more. Somewhat recessed. The windage is also locking, and so it's lift to operate on the windage as well. I don't think I'll be using it a lot other than zeroing and then slipping the scales to reset it back to zero. You have your witness lines on elevation and windage. I think it's the best that I've seen from Discovery Optics. This is probably going to be the best one they've made yet. It feels very quality. I think the features and the fit and finish seem to have a lot of things that I'm looking for, and so I'm excited about that. And I can only think of one or two ways that they might even improve this from here at this price point. Looks very good. I'm excited to try it out. This is not a review. This is just an overview. So if you guys are disappointed that it's not on a gun right now, just wait. There will be a video. I'm going to try this out on a few guns. Really looking forward to it. In fact, I've got a lot of Discovery content coming up soon. In the video itself, we'll talk about tracking. We're going to talk about smoothness of the magnification lever. We're going to talk a lot about the reticle, because I can already tell you I have good things to say about this reticle design. We'll talk about the parallax practicality, and then we'll also talk about illumination. By the way, illumination has 6 settings and off in between. So you can see there's 6, there's off, there's 1. It's a good stout illumination setting there, and I don't believe operating this is going to move this, and I don't believe moving this is going to interfere with this. But I want to talk more about this in the actual review. So hang tight, guys. Lots more content coming soon.